How much credit does Bill Belichick deserve for the win last night?
Well, guys, he was on the local radio in Boston within the last hour, and they asked him how he was doing, and he said he's a little run down, but good. And I thought to myself, run down? Like, I see what you're doing there, Bill Belichick. But here, on the Sean McDermott comment, I think one thing I would just add to the discussion was the way he was asked that question last night. And I wasn't in the room with him, but it was sort of described to me by someone who was. And I think the question to Sean McDermott was, you were pretty animated on the sideline in that game. And when you're in a psychological type battle with Bill Belichick, and then I think the question was asked after that statement was made. And I think that might have lit a little something under Sean McDermott that led to his response, because there is a little something there, guys, between Sean McDermott and in terms of how he goes up against Bill Belichick. So I think that sort of lit him up a little bit.
Yeah, I have an early prediction on the next score. It won't be pretty if they get their way in New England, that's for sure. I can promise you that Bill's going to remember whatever little slight was headed his way from Sean McDermott. Mike, how surprised were you about the game plan in which the Patriots entered into the game with only throwing the ball 3 times and running for 222 yards on 46 attempts?
I was shocked, just like I was in 2005 when Doug Flutie had a drop kick. Like, that's the one thing about covering a Bill Belichick team. You're going to see some things that you never expect to see. And one point that he made this morning, Key, when he was sort of going back through the game, is he said, look, if we needed to throw the ball in the fourth quarter, we probably would have if the game situation presented itself. But that being said, I never would have thought you'd go into a game and throw it just 3 times. That's a franchise record. So, the previous record was 5 pass attempts for them in a game back in 1982, the snowplow game, when they beat the Dolphins. So to me, it was surprising, but also reflective to your first point about how much credit you give Bill Belichick of just how much he does change from week to week and do literally whatever he believes is the best thing to win the game.
For somebody that's watched this team and covered this team for a long time, where would you rank this game plan from Bill Belichick and his entire career?
So this probably won't fire up the discussion, Jay, too much. It probably wouldn't be in the top of the rankings, only from this standpoint. I look at it like this. The Bills were sort of driving late, and I think to myself, if 1 or 2 plays goes in the other direction, we might be questioning them, why didn't you throw the ball more? And so I think I'm a little hesitant to sort of go overboard and say, hey, this was a great game plan. When I think of the greatest game plans, I think of that first Super Bowl against the Rams and the greatest show on turf when, no one thought they were going to come out of that game with a win. To me, this was more like, hey, the elements are such that we have to dramatically alter what we do. And that was the greatness of it, but it sort of pales to me in comparison of some of the other specific X's and O's things that he's done in the past.
Mike Reiss, ESPN Patriots reporter, joining us this morning on Keyshawn, J. Will, and Max. What message was sent, you think, to the team last night after getting this tough win up in Buffalo, running the football, playing the defensive style in which they played, to just get out of there and now have the number 1 seed in the AFC? So
I thought one thing Devin McCourty, the safety and longtime captain, said after the game was probably reflective of the message, Key. And he said, this is his 12th year here. He said, this is why he's loved playing for the Patriots, because it's not about this is what we do and we're just going to stick with it. And it's not about one player and it's not about ego. It's about doing whatever it takes to win the game. And I think they feel like they've got it rolling a little bit. They've won obviously the 7 in a row, and they've done it in different ways. And so the message is, let's just keep this thing rolling, get healthy into the bye week. They had Damian Harris, their top running back, leave this game with a hamstring injury. So bye week comes at a good time for him. But if they stay true to their process and what they're doing, they feel like they can do some special things here.
How important is home field advantage to them?
Well, when you look at what they've done in the past, when they get that bye, and there's only one now, right, with the new playoff format, the results speak for themselves. So I would say it's incredible. It's not the end-all, be-all, but if they get it, look at what they've done with it in the past. Tremendous advantage for them if they can do that.
You know, Mike, the Brady-Belichick debate is, I'd say, probably the greatest of the 21st century. LeBron and Jordan is right there, right? Brady-Belichick, was it more Brady or Belichick in New England? What was the Patriot way, really? And boy, Brady looked like he was way out in front after winning the Super Bowl year one. But what has happened this year to that whole narrative, do you think, with what the Patriots have just done, winning 7 in a row?
Well, certainly shifts back into Bill's, not shifts back to Bill's side, but at least sort of brings the needle back to the middle, or close to it, doesn't it? And, the culture of the Patriots has always been about more than one person, but it's like, how do you level it out and say, what something Bill said this morning? He said no one was more responsible for everything they accomplished than Tom. Like Bill himself literally just said that in his local radio interview within the last hour. So you want to acknowledge that, but also acknowledge like this is bigger than just one player. It's a culture. It's when you come here, like it's about the team. And I think that's what's shining through here in what they're accomplishing to this point this season.
No doubt, but that's really the argument. Who was the culture? Was it Brady or Belichick? And boy, it looked dicey for Belichick for a minute, but I think he's answered the bell. I think he's answered that question.
Thanks for watching ESPN on YouTube. For live streaming sports and premium content, subscribe to ESPN+.